Hi again and welcome, and thank you so much for coming to join us tonight for our fall 2023 Indie Social. Wow, we do this so much. It's so nice. Yay, give a cheer. My name is Stephanie. I'm a trade marketing manager and an acquiring editor at Annick Press, and I will be your host for this evening. So whether you have been with us a few times or if you're just meeting us, once again, welcome. We are so glad that you're here with us. And we are 6 fun, fantastic, interesting, independent Canadian presses that are here to chat books with some of our favorite people in the world, booksellers and librarians. One great thing about these virtual events, other than the fact that I can be in my comfy pants, and I am, is that we can open this up to so many people across North America on this lovely Tuesday evening. So if you haven't already done so, please let us know in the chat where you're coming from. We're super excited to see you all tonight. To kick things off, my friend Christina is going to be popping a link into the chat for the ARC request form. So you can open that up, and as you hear about all of our fantastic books tonight, you can check off the titles that you're interested in and submit the form at the end. And when I looked through the ARC request form again today, I was like, wow, I want everything on this list. So good luck, everybody. We're also super excited to share a little new piece with us tonight. We're doing some indie exclusive giveaway prizes with you tonight. So make sure that you stay with us throughout the whole evening. I'm going to be asking you some trivia questions. And you've got to make sure you have your listening ears on and your thinking caps on and put your guesses in the chat. The first one with the correct answer for each question wins. So pay attention for that too. After that big long ramble, you know who I am, and we're starting to learn where you all are coming from. So I'm going to ask all of my friends on screen tonight to introduce themselves. So my partners in publishing, can you please give us your name, your publishing house, and its claim to fame, how long you've been around, and what you do there? So why don't we start with Biblioasis tonight?
Hey everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Emily. I'm a senior publicist at Biblioasis Press. I've been with Biblioasis for 2 years. We are a literary press based in Windsor, Ontario. We publish literary fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and we're known for our international translation series. Our claim to fame is probably our luck with the Booker Prize. We've published Ducks Newburyport by Lucy Ellman, Case Study by Graham McCrae Burnett, and this fall we're bringing out How to Build a Boat by Elaine Feeney, all of which have been nominated for the Booker. So thanks for being here.
A lot of claims to fame. Thanks, Emily. We're so excited. We're so enthusiastic about each other's books. The next person I have on my list is Annick Press. Bailey, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Bailey, and I'm the Digital Marketing Associate at Annick Press. So anytime you interact with us on social media, I'm probably the person on the other side of the screen answering you. Annick Press is an independent children's publisher based in Toronto that was founded in 1975 by Rick Wilkes and Anne Milliard, and we publish lots of kids' books, including some Robert Munsch favorites like the timeless classic, The Paperback Princess, which is definitely our claim to fame, and totally keep your eyes peeled on our socials for more information on our Paperback Princess Day, which is going to be coming up very soon.
Thanks, Bailey. Also, we published Stephanie's Ponytail, which is, in my opinion, the best Robert Munsch book. Next, let's hear from our friends at Coach House. Introduce yourself, James.
Hello, my name is James Lindsay. I am the publicist at Coach House Books. I've been here for about 4 years at Coach House, but Coach House has been around since 1965 in Toronto. We're still based in the exact same Coach House we were founded in by Stan Bevington. We print almost all of our own books as well as publish them, which is a little rare for publishing. And our claim to fame is probably our most recent Giller win, The Sleeping Car Porter by Suzette Meyer, which was a huge hit for us. We actually were lucky enough to have 2 books on the Giller list last year, including Lesser Known Monsters of the 21st Century by Kim Fu as well.
Fantastic. Both wonderful books. Thanks so much, James. Let us hear from our friends at House of Anansi. Tess.
Hi, everyone. I'm Natasha Berry. I'm the Western Canada account manager for House of Anansi Press and Groundwood Books as well. But my wonderful colleague Jessie is going to be presenting for Groundwood tonight, and I'll stick with Anansi just to keep things simple. I've been with the company for around 6 years now. I'm based in Vancouver at this point, so that's why it's still light out for me. Yeah, Anansi has been around since 1967. It's in Toronto. It was founded by Dennis Lee and David Godfrey. They really just wanted to publish their own poetry, but quickly the press grew. It's now really known for its literary fiction, also commercial fiction, lots of nonfiction. We do the Massey lectures every year, and we still publish poetry as well.
Thanks, Cass. I'm always envious of your sunlight when we do these. So thank you for joining us in the sun. Let's hear from ECW next. Introduce yourself, Elham.
Hi everyone, my name is Elham Ali, and I'm the trade marketing lead here at ECW. We've been around for almost 50 years. We've published nearly 1,000 books, and our thing is that we have something for absolutely everyone. Our kind of special niche is doing a lot of books on pop culture, things like music history, a lot of books on professional wrestling. And our new claim to fame is that we have a Gill or two now, or a Gill or long list. So eat it, guys. If you haven't read We Meant Well, it's such an amazing book. Definitely pick that up. I had to plug it here somehow today.
We are all so excited for the long list and all your professional wrestling books. So thank you, Elham. And last but certainly not least, our friends at Groundwood. Jessie, introduce yourself, please.
I'm Jessie Glibbery. I'm the sales director at Groundwood Books and House of Anansi. We were founded in 1978 with a mandate to publish children's books of the highest quality. We've grown to include fiction and picture books, graphic novels, nonfiction. Our award-winning and critically acclaimed books and list are known for being ahead of the curve, justice-oriented, and unafraid of tackling stories that may be considered difficult or controversial. I've been with the company for 5 years now, and this year was our 45th anniversary.
45 wonderful years. Thanks, Jessie. Thanks, everyone, for introducing yourselves and our attendees tonight. Remember how I said you have to have your listening ears on? This is my Girl Guide self coming out. For our first prize pack tonight, we're going to give you our first question. Put your answers in the chat. The first person to guess it right will get an extra special prize pack sent to them. Which indie book social squad publisher is the oldest? Put your questions in the chat. We mentioned when we were founded, so everyone take your guess. All right, Tuesday is the best night of the week to talk about books, so we're going to get right into it. You're going to have to keep an eye on the chat now, as Christina is also going to share links to the ARC request form throughout the evening as well, and the e-catalogs for you to take a look at as we're chatting tonight. Something about fall, even if it's not cold weather, feels like it's nonfiction season to me. You know, soup and nonfiction, they go great together. Maybe I'm really stuck in that back to school vibe, but I love learning about new things in the fall, especially. So I'm wondering, for all of my publishing pals, what is the real nonfiction winner that you have on your list this season? Let's start with Groundwood. What do you have for us?
Okay, so the absolute stress I have about speaking and being muted, or being muted and not speaking, it's just like my blood is running cold. The only thing I'm really stressed about. So we're going on this adventure together. My favorite piece of nonfiction is Wangari Speaks Out. It's a speech by Wangari Maathai. This is our third book in the Speak Out series, which features famous and inspiring speeches by change makers and activists. In 2004, Wangari was the first African woman and the first environmentalist to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. And this book is her acceptance speech of that distinguished honor. She is internationally recognized for her persistent struggle for democracy, human rights, and for environmental conservation. And so this is the third book in this series that we've created together, and it's my favorite piece of nonfiction for fall.
Thank you, and thanks for sharing. Also, you guys, you have to take a look at the cover. It is beautiful. I love it. So thanks so much, Jessie. And Nancy, what do you have for us for fall?
So the nonfiction book that I honestly can't stop thinking about, I devoured this. It's called Eve, The Disobedient Future of Birth, and it's by Claire Horn. This is publishing in November. So it looks at the ethics and future of birth technology, and you learn like the whole history of birth technology, starting with incubators in the late 19th century. And the fun fact about that is that they actually weren't initially in hospitals. They were put on display at world fairs, and they were holding premature babies that people could just gawk at because they'd never seen babies survive that young. And finally, somewhere along the line, people decided that was unethical. So that was shut down and incubators moved into hospitals. Then you learn about where modern technology is now, how we can grow embryos outside of the human body, and what that might mean in the future. So, for example, will we have an artificial womb that can gestate a human baby to the point of birth? So Horn talks about like all of the legal and social and ethical questions around this. You know, could it like allow women to redistribute the work of gestating if they want to, but also could it forward the eugenics dreams of Silicon Valley tech titans? The author is a research fellow at Dalhousie's Health Law Institute. So her work sort of focuses around law and policy governing sexual and reproductive health rights and technologies. She really knows her stuff, but it's also a very accessible read. And the book's also very pro-choice, I'll add. There's a huge section talking about how these technologies could impact access to abortion as well. And I think it's really great for anyone who liked Blair Bigham's Death Interrupted. If you remember that one, we published it last year. It did really well. And that was all about how modern medicine and technology is complicating the way we die. This is just flipped around and how new tech is complicating the way that we're born.
Incredible. And that's a perfect pairing for it, Tass. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. James, what does Coach House have for my nonfiction fall?
Thank you, Stephanie. This is a book I won't soon not be thinking about. There Is No Blue by Martha Bailey. You may know Martha from her previous books, Sister Language, If Clara, The Search for Heinrich Schlegel, and The Incident Report, which is actually being produced as a film by Charlie Kaufman right now. This is a series of 3 essays, actually edited by Andre Alexis of 15 Dogs fame, who's a friend of Martha. It's 3 essays, very touching, very personal, about grief, death, and loss. It follows the death of her, starting with the life and death of her father and how that affected her, then how Martha cared for her mother as she was passing away, which was a long process. And finally, the last essay is about her sister, Christina, who she wrote Sister Language, Christina's only book with. Christina unfortunately took her life very soon after the publication of that book, and she suffered from schizophrenia. So this is Martha looking at her life with Christina. Christina lived on her own, so it's helping Christina be independent. It's also about the writing of Sister Language and what it was like afterwards, during the sort of after everything had happened. So all of the fallout that happens after these deaths as well. It's not an easy read by any means. However, if you are affected by grief and death and loss, you will find a lot in this to identify with. Martha is pretty unflinching in her look at this. She's not afraid to share her anger, for example, about situations, as well as her sadness and her joy about remembering her family. We have some incredible blurbs for this already, including from Charlie Kaufman himself, who said that he was grateful for this profound meditation on death and family. I understand this would be not for everyone, but if this has ever touched you in your life, if you are grieving someone, there is a lot to be found in this. This is out October 3rd, thank you. There Is No Blue by Martha Bailey.
Amazing and so important and insightful. Thank you, James, for sharing that one. Bailey, what do you have for Annick Press for my nonfiction fall?
Sure. So the nonfiction winner we have on our list this season is Stay Up, Racism, Resistance, and Reclaiming Black Freedom by Cody Dill and with illustrations from Stylo Star. The book uses a hybrid of memoir, cultural criticism, and anti-oppressive theory, and offers a deep and nuanced understanding of how racism is constructed and how racism and white supremacy function at individual and systemic levels in North America. And the book aims to empower racialized young people to be confident in their identity and to embrace the fullness of their lives and futures. There's striking, thought-provoking collage art by Stylo Star, which adds visual appeal, while also putting into practice Cody's words about the power of art to make social change. Cody is such a unique and powerful voice, which you might remember from his previous book with us, Welcome to the Cipher. I'm not a huge nonfiction reader myself, but I think that what makes this book really stand out is Cody's own experience that he weaves throughout the book, which makes everything so much more impactful and interesting. He draws on a constellation of thinkers and artists who have spoken on things like racism, identity, and colonialism, and he's pushing against white supremacist narratives by introducing readers to these essential voices. And I truly cannot recommend this book enough, and you will have to check out our website to see it because I don't have a physical copy right now. But the cover is absolutely gorgeous with some amazing collage art, and I have to tell you that there are so much more amazing illustrations throughout. So you're definitely going to want to pick it up so you can get your eyes on those.
Definitely. It is a beautiful cover, beautiful art, and beautiful words from Cody. Thank you so much, Bailey. Emily, what does Biblioasis have for nonfiction fall?
So you're going to hear a bit more about this one later tonight, actually, from the author herself. But my favorite nonfiction title this fall is the latest in our Field Notes series on community by Casey Plett. As I think many of us can agree, the term community is a word that has become almost meaningless, used to sell everything from books and music to like Adobe Suite memberships and frat house roles. And Platt really draws on the way that the idea of community has worked in her own life, hoping to lift a word that has become overused out of abstraction. She reflects on the different communities she's belonged to or been lumped in with over the years, from her Mennonite upbringing in rural Manitoba to her career in publishing in Ontario and in New York, and to the transgender community she now finds herself writing to and with. She looks at memories, family, literature, religion, salient cultural phenomena, and she meanders through the usage of the word over time, wondering about its implications for how we form bonds with one another. And ultimately, she creates a framework for reassigning meaning to this word that has become a complete gloss. This book holds a really special place in our hearts because Casey was a publicist at Biblioasis before she won the first novel award by Amazon in 2019. She was actually part of the first ever indie book social. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure we get it into the right hands. Make sure you get an ARC while you still can. It's coming November 7th on Community by Casey Plett.
Thank you, Emily. And like so many people in the chat, I also love the Field Notes series. So I'm so glad Casey is contributing to that. All right, our last nonfiction fall title, ECW, what do you have for us?
Hey, I know it's supposed to be quick, but I just have to say, I love this event so much, and I love hearing you all talk about your books so much. Also, not a big nonfiction reader, but I genuinely want to read all of these books now because you're all brilliant. So I hope that this will speak to some of you too. The book that I chose is Cheated, The Laurier Liberals and the Theft of First Nations Reserve Land. This is by Bill Weiser and Jenny Hansen, and it's very much a book for history buffs, but also for very conscientious readers who really want to learn more about another, unfortunately, dark chapter in Canadian history. So this is the story of how in 1896, the Liberal government, the federal ruling party in Canada at the time, took control of the Department of Indian Affairs and basically transformed this whole department into their own personal machine that existed just to steal Indigenous people's land back. Over the course of 15 years, the Laurier government aggressively pursued the acquisition of more than 24 Indian reserves, their justification being that the prairie bands who own the land had too much, and that they weren't using the land properly, that it would be better used by white settlers. So they used racist and capitalist logic to justify stealing back this land. And instead of really using it, they just sold it to their friends and people who worked in the department, who then flipped it for a profit. And to date, no one has really been held to account for this robbery. The department still has kind of been able to sort of present itself as this untouchable monolith that could do no wrong. And so in Cheated, historians Hansen and Weiser really go deep into this history to expose the machinations that went on behind the scenes. And yet again, another dark and shameful chapter in Canadian history that we always seem to be hearing about for the first time. It's not a fun read by any means, but it is definitely a very important one. So that is Cheated.
Thank you, Alham. Super important. And give us our land back. That's all I got to say on that. Thank you everyone for filling up my nonfiction fall reading list. I love it. My ARC request form is filling up immensely, and so make sure you all check yours off too. Like Emily said, it wouldn't be an indie book social without a super special author video. And tonight we're going to be hearing from Casey Plett speaking about her forthcoming book with Biblioasis.
Hello, indie booksellers. My name is Casey Plett, and I am stoked to tell you about On Community, forthcoming November 7th with Biblioasis. I am primarily a fiction writer, but I'm also a transsexual woman, a New Yorker, a Mennonite, Canadian, professor, and a publisher myself with Little Puss Press. And I wrote On Community trying to unpick the thorny, troubling knot of how important community is in our lives, and how it is both so necessary and yet can also be like so toxic. I wrote it having lived, worked, played, suffered, anguished, cried across so many different communities. I'm actually going between communities right now. I'm filming this on the Long Island Railroad on the way home from work. My hope for On Community is that it can speak to how powerful and loaded community is, like how much kinetic energy it has, you could say, and how we could maybe turn its effects towards the better. I really hope you like it, and I would love to hear what you think about it too. Okay, I love all the work you do, indie booksellers. Bye!
Thanks so much to Casey and Biblioasis for sharing with us tonight. Like Casey said, On Community publishes on November 7th, so make sure you get that next one in the Field Notes series. I say this every time, the inside stuff is just as important as what's on the cover, but we all judge every single book by its cover. We talked about how beautiful the covers are for our nonfiction picks tonight. So my friends in publishing, what is your favorite cover on your list this season? Why don't we start with Biblioasis, please?
Yeah, so my favorite cover of our season is probably also my favorite cover of the year. It's For the Future by Catherine LaRue, which was out last week. And the cover was designed by one of our designers, Natalie Olson, who is super talented. You should check out her other work. I think it really perfectly captures the beauty and terror and toxicity of like our idea of a post-apocalyptic environment. It also, much to our surprise, really started to resonate with people during the summer as people were reading ARCs of, like we had all these wildfires, people were waking up to orange skies for the first time in their life. And it took on a new meaning, I think. The book, The Future, is set in a futuristic French-speaking Detroit. The novel follows Gloria, a woman grieving her daughter's death, who begins an epic search for her missing granddaughters. Rumors of their whereabouts lead her to a forest on the outskirts of this former city, where a group of children are said to have started their own community. It's kind of like Lord of the Flies meets Station 11 meets your favorite contemporary YA novel. LaRue is really interested in what happens after the world as we know it has come to an end, but is refreshingly optimistic when it comes to the way she thinks humanity might stay connected. Translated from the French by Susan Oriot, this novel has already been nominated for some major French language awards here in Quebec and has already received a starred review in Kirkus, which calls it a complex picture of community-focused life beyond the family unit. Which I think is pretty rad. So The Future, it was out last week, September 5th. Make sure to stock up today.
Thank you, Emily. Rad and beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much. Our next beautiful cover comes from Coach House. What do we have?
Hey, thank you. So this is a beautiful book. It's a little hard to see on the image. This is The King of Terrors by Jim Johnstone. So Jim is a pretty influential Canadian poet, both through his work at his chapbook press Palimpsest and his editing through Anstruther Press and their poetry program. He's also published a lot of books out there and has mentored many, many young Canadian poets. But we almost lost Jim a couple of years ago to a brain tumor. And what you can see in the top corner, I don't know if everyone can see my video, but you can hold it up here, is that's a scan of Jim's brain from when the tumor is there. And in the very top where the dot is was where the tumor was removed. That's the chunk of brain that they actually took out of Jim. So this is a beautiful book about when Jim was just about to go into surgery. So he wrote this very quickly, not knowing quite whether he would come out, whether there'd be long-term effects from the surgery. So there's a very immediate tone to it. There's poems, love poems in here to his friends and his family, especially his wife. There's poems about life. There's poems about fear. There's poems a lot about his own body and how it was betraying him at the time, about the headaches he was going through and his fear of the surgery itself. It's an absolutely stunning cover. The green really pops. Jim did the art himself based on a brain scan, and it was designed by our managing editor, Crystal Sikma. That gray silver you can see is actually foil stamping on the cover that runs all the way around. It's a really beautiful book, and it's great for poets, but it's also, and for poetry readers, but this is really, really great, again, for people who have suffered from tumors, from cancer, who know someone like that. They'll find a lot here that Jim tries to write about, sort of the unspeakable feelings of fear and tension that come along with having an illness like this and going into surgery. At the moment, he's actually working on a new book about what happened, how he feels immediately after surgery. So it's great. There's a new, more positive, optimistic one coming as well.
Thank you. So that'll be Coach House's beautiful book for the fall 2024 Indie Social, right? We'll have that one then.
I hope so. This is out September 24th, so I should say.
James, is that spot gloss by chance?
Is that what?
Is it spot gloss, the line?
Oh, I'm not sure, actually.
Oh, it should be.
It's beautiful.
It looks great.
Thanks, James. Next up for our cover, we have ECW. What do you have for us?
So my beautiful book is The Grimmer by Nabend Rethnam, and it's actually a book that's stunning from any angle. Like, I love the spine. I don't know if you can see all that detail, and then even the back. It's just such a gorgeous book. This cover was designed by Lisa Marie Pompeo, whose work I definitely recommend you check out. She's at Von Brooklyn Design, if you want to Google that. So the author Nabend, also known as Nathan Ripley, is a really popular horror and thriller writer up here in Canada. He's done Help Me and Your Life Is Mine and Find You in the Dark. This is his YA debut, and in it he really combines his horror sensibilities with a YA story that tackles some serious issues like addiction and grief and racism, but it's still a really fun, fast-paced story, and I love that you can see that in the cover. It's very poppy, it's really eye-catching and draws you in, but still has those the occult horror vibes. There is also, I should say, a really huge spoiler in this cover, but you'd never know it, so you're going to have to read the whole book to figure out what that is. So the story follows Vish, a teen who's struggling with alienation in his mostly white town, as well as dealing with his dad's addiction, which everyone knows about now. And so he really just wants to be left alone, but then a demon does a racism at him, and so now he's dragged into this supernatural adventure to try and stop an interdimensional invasion. We've gotten so many fantastic reviews for this book. Kirk has called it cinematic and satisfying, and a lot of other YA writers like Mark Oshiro and Ryan Douglas have, come up with these great blurbs talking about how this is such a fun and horrifying story, unlike anything else that you'll read in YA. And so for your younger readers, just in time for spooky season, you should all definitely pick up The Grimmer by Nabend Rethnam.
Thank you, Elham. I love Nabend, and I got my hands on an arc for this one, and it is as good as the cover makes it look. So thank you so much for sharing The Grimmer with us tonight. Next, we have House of Anansi for a beautiful cover. What do you have, Tass?
So it's so funny that Ellen was going for a spooky season book because I did the exact same thing. So this is An Ordinary Violence by Adriana Chartrand. The cover was designed by our designer, Greg Tabor. It's a supernatural literary horror novel. And I think why I love the cover so much is partly because we don't publish a lot of horror. So I think this was just very fun and creepy, and it stands out on our list. It's also an amazing read. The main character, Dawn, is a young Indigenous woman. She's building her life, a new life for herself in Toronto. She's sort of had this difficult past. We learned that her mom passed away when she was young, and her brother had gone to prison 7 years earlier for committing a violent crime. And she sort of thinks she's put all of that behind her, but then her personal life sort of crumbles around her in Toronto, and she ends up having to flee back home to the prairies to live with her dad. And when she's there, she learns that her brother Cody is also returning home. And he's not alone. He actually met a friend in prison named Tyler, who he's bringing back with him. And these two men move into the house, and suddenly weird and creepy things start to happen. Time moves strangely, and Dawn is losing memories. She's growing really weak and sickly. So is her father and her brother. She starts to see like supernatural creatures, and that's where the rabbit comes from on the cover. She sees a large rabbit kind of prowling at night. Then one night she catches Cody and Tyler in the living room performing a strange ritual, and this scary dark portal opens on the floor, and she needs to kind of unravel their nefarious plans. So Adriana Chartrand is a mixed race Native woman and has said that she was inspired to write this book by her love of horror as a genre and her interest in the ways that it can be used to illustrate and explore elements of contemporary Indigenous life. And this is publishing on Halloween. So if you're looking for a spooky read, I definitely recommend this one.
Perfect for giving out trick or treat candy. Thank you so much, Taff. I love it. Excited to read this one. Next, we have Annick Press. Bailey, what do you have for your beautiful cover?
Yeah, my cover is a completely different vibe, but still gorgeous nonetheless. So my favorite cover of the season is Dragging Mason County by Curtis Campbell. I'm so obsessed with the way that this cover turned out and how it like intertwines the drag elements of the book with the rural elements. This cover was done by Jen Woodall, who you might know from her graphic novels called Space Trash. Dragon Mason County is a YA comedy which follows Peter and his best friend, the drag queen Aggie Culture, as seen on the cover in her signature green wig, as they attempt to throw the first ever drag show their small town has ever seen. It's at turns touching, sharply funny, and just like a little absurd. Dragging Mason County explores self-acceptance, the realities of small town queer life, and the joys and occasional pains of the queer community. Something that I really love about this book is how fun it is, because it does touch on some of like the unfortunate realities, but it does not, like, the hardships are not the central point of the book. The queer joy, the biting comedy, and the found family elements are what really stand out, because we definitely need more books that focus on queer joy. Because reading is fundamental, as we know, in more ways than one. It was sure to make you laugh until you cry and wish very hard that you could attend the first annual Mason County Drag Extravaganza.
Reading is fundamental. Thank you, Bailey. I love this one so much, and it is a beautiful cover. Our last beautiful cover tonight comes from our friends at Groundwood. Jessie, what do you have for us?
Hi. Okay, so this is Mary Anning's Curiosity by Monica Culling. We are finally putting this adorable and amazing book into paperback this fall. Previously, it was only available in hardcover. The cover was designed by Melissa Castrion. She's an English and Colombian illustrator based in England. This is the story of how the world's greatest fossilist, Mary Anning, discovered her first huge find at the age of 12. Her father was a part-time fossil hunter, but when he was injured and unable to work, Mary picked up where he left off, quit school, and started fossil hunting full-time to support their family. And what was her first big score? At the ripe age of 12, a gigantic crocodile that would later be termed an ichthyosaurus. So I love this cover. I love this story. Mary Anning is such a cool person, and who finds a dinosaur bone at 12 after having to take on the financial role of supporting their family. It's incredible.
It's an amazing story, and like I'm so glad you picked this one for the cover, Jessie, because I love it. So thank you so much for sharing it with us tonight. But all these covers are beautiful and like super Instagrammable. So thank you so much for sharing these gorgeous covers with us tonight, to everyone. And speaking of covers, speaking of art, speaking of Instagrammable, everybody here knows that when it comes to kids' books, the pictures are just as important as the words, if not more so. So for our children's publishers tonight, what is a book on your list that you could frame every single spread as an art print in your home? Groundwood, why don't we start with you tonight? What do you have for us?
Sure, why not? I've chosen The Gift of Menomen by Brittany Luby and Joshua Pa Steckley. This is the duo behind our picture book, This Is How I Know. They've collaborated again to bring us another beautiful bilingual book. In this story, an Anishinaabe child follows the story of the Menomen seed and the circle of life that Menomen sustains. The story reveals the cultural and ecological importance of Menomen. It's often referred to as wild rice. The book contributes to a growing body of First Nations children's literature and supports the revitalization of the Anishinaabe language. Pa Steckley, the illustrator, his profile is really growing. In fact, he created all the art for the Toronto Raptors Indigenous Heritage Night that was at the Scotiabank Centre last year. His art was featured on the Jumbotron, on the tickers, as well as a custom t-shirt that sold out by halftime. And I know this because I was there and I saw the art on the Jumbotron and I was like, wait, I know this. This is incredible. So we love their first book together. I love their second. The art is fantastic and his profile is really growing and we're super proud of them both.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Joshua is an incredible artist, so I love to see these, and they are definitely frameable. So thank you very much. Next we have Annick. Bailey, what do you have that's frameable?
Okay. So the book that I would hang every single spread as an art print of is San Francisco, King of the Disco by Sarah Taghome, illustrated by Benny Taleb. Because if there's one thing I think I and everyone else need in their life is stunning, colorful illustrations of partying cats just like plastered all over my walls. Because like the illustrations just jump off the page and make you want to get up and dance. And like those are just the vibes and the energy that like I need in my life, especially on a rainy day like today. This would come in handy. I would be up and at 'em. I wouldn't even need a coffee. I would just need to look at these illustrations. San Francisco is a rollicking story about a bunch of cool cats who just want to have fun despite the best efforts of a grumpy neighbor trying to silence them. Now, this is a very entertaining picture book, but it also features a very important message of optimism and overcoming adversity. And it's also perfect for read-alouds as it features a lot of alliteration, fun wordplay, and rhymes. And again, will just make you want to get up and dance. So you want to read it again and again just to keep the party going. And I definitely want to be a cat partying with San Francisco. And I know all of you do too. And definitely keep your eyes on our socials because I might have pictures of like our entire staff's cats with this book. So like I don't know how I'm going to choose just 10 to put in an Instagram, but it's going to be my hardest job I've ever done. But keep your eyes peeled.
Thanks so much, Bailey. We do love a dancing cat, a Ziggy Stardust inspired cat. And it sort of makes me think of a question I have for our adult publishers. If you've joined us in the past, you know how much I love music. I love to hear what everybody sings at karaoke, and I didn't subject you to that tonight. And it's one of my specialties. I put it on my resume, something I'm really good at, karaoke. So my non-children's publishers, if you could pair one book from your list with a music album, which album would you pick? I can't wait for this one. I'm so excited. ECW, let's start with you. What are you listening to?
So like I said, at ECW, we really specialize in lots and lots of music books, so I had tons to choose from. But sometimes the best answer is the easiest one. And so for this one, I chose Just a Game. This is the third album from Canada, one of Canada's biggest rock groups, Triumph, and its matching book is Lay It on the Line, a backstage pass to Rockstar Adventure, Conflict, and Triumph by Rick Emmett. So if you don't know Triumph, they were a multi-platinum selling, absolutely legendary rock group, and Rick Emmett was the guitarist and co-lead singer, and at one point was even considered one of the greatest guitarists on the planet. So in Lay It on the Line, he's telling his story all the way through for the first time. It is part memoir, sort of lots of rock star anecdotes throughout, and also a masterclass in guitar at the same time. And Rick is looking back at his journey, the highs and lows of his career. And for the first time ever, he also goes into why he left the band in 1988. This is a unique thrilling, exhaustive, and heartfelt, very much triumphant, pun fully intended, deep dive into the life and legacy of one of Canada's biggest rock stars. I did say this was the easy answer, but that didn't stop me from doing my research. I listened to Just a Game all the way through, and it was a fun time. Like, I wasn't born in the 80s. I'm not a big like rock music person, but it's so good. I was like in my car, it's great driving music. And at one point I was like, if you've ever seen like the Nick Miller Cotton Eye Joe fist pumping meme, like that was me. It's a really good, like, listen to the whole album and read the book as well.
So I think we all gained something tonight. It was Elham's new music taste. We all got the visual of her as Nick Miller. I love it. Thank you so much. Coach House, what do you have for our music pairing tonight?
Okay, hold on to your butts, everyone, because this is a wild ride. This is Yara, the highly new anticipated novel from Tamara Faith Berger. She won the Believer Book Award for Maidenhead, probably her best known novel. We've also published Queen Solomon and Little Cat by her. So I will get to the album. I actually asked Tamara to recommend one herself. But first, a little bit of plot. So it is 2007. Yara is a young Jewish woman living in Brazil. Her mother's just paid for a nose job for her. She engages on a really steamy love affair, lesbian love affair with her nurse, who's much older than her. Her mom finds out about this, flips out, sends her on a birthright trip to Israel, which ends with debaucherous results. She ends up in Toronto with some lawyers trying to get her to prosecute people, and she ends up doing her own thing, ending up in the adult film industry in LA. It's a globe-spanning, smut-filled, wild romp. So when I asked Tamara about this, she actually recommended Britney Spears' 2007 album Blackout, featuring Give Me More. In Tamara's own words, Yara takes place in 2007 when she leaves Brazil to go forth to the world. In my mind, the 2000s are swirled around Britney Spears, Give Me More being her pinnacle song. Britney's Beg and Sizzle barely covers her ever-present existential hole. She spins around the stripper pole, parading and forgetting her body at the same time. This is a really, really fun book. We already have fall previews from Quill and Choir, the Globe and Mail, Publishers Weekly, among others. There's a glowing review from Publishers Weekly as well. This book is, in essence, about consent and set within the sex tape panic of the early aughts. So if you can think Paris Hilton and the Kardashians and the worry parents had that all of their kids would run out and make their own sex tapes, is sort of set in that paranoia and the consequences that happen. Cannot recommend this enough. Yara by Tamara Faith Berger.
Thank you. And Amanda said in the chat, I also want to party with Tamara. So I think I'm going to ask all my authors to give me an album when I acquire a book. So thank you so much, James. I'm so excited for Yara. Emily, what does Biblioasis have for us musically tonight?
Yeah, wow, I really just want to read Yara. So this is a fun one to answer because we have All the Years Combined by Ray Robertson coming out this November, which is nonfiction, and it's a tour of 50 of the best Grateful Dead concerts. I don't have a physical here today, but the cover is rad, so you should check it out. The album I have to pick is Grateful Dead's Here Comes the Sunshine, a 1973 live album, which was actually just released as a box set with liner notes by Ray Robertson. So when we acquired this one, I had no idea that the Grateful Dead essentially recorded every single one of their live shows, which can make their oeuvre like really intimidating for people who are Deadhead curious. Robertson really cuts through some of that chaos, taking the reader on a tour of 50 shows, from like their best to their worst to their most unusual, not only giving like the reader a roadmap for listening, but for understanding one of the most notable and diehard fandoms in American history. This is very much a book for Deadheads and non-Deadheads alike. Any music lover will just delight in his energetic writing and his endless knowledge about each show and band member, and making it like a perfect listening companion. So yeah, we have some exciting broadcasts and media lined up for this one. ARCs just came in last week, so make sure to get your requests in ASAP. It's coming out November 7th, All the Years Combined by Ray Robertson.
Thank you, Emily. It's so cool and it's so perfect. I once tried to date a Deadhead and I wish I had this book at the time. So thank you. If I could go back in time, I would give it to myself, but I am not getting married to that person. Anyway, our last album tonight. What do you have for us, Tass and Anansi?
All right. Well, my pick is going to be this year's CBC Massey lecture, which may seem like an odd choice for this question, but this is The Age of Insecurity. It's by Astra Taylor. She is a filmmaker, writer, and political organizer. She was actually born in Winnipeg, but now lives in New York City. And this is a very anti-capitalist Massey lecture, which I think pretty kind of rules. So I would pair this with maybe some like Rage Against the Machine. Like I couldn't even pick a specific album, maybe like the Battle of Los Angeles or something. Also songs like Pink Floyd's Money or Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire. So Astra talks about how these days, so many of us are financially precarious, we're anxious, we're worried about the future, and trying to do anything to solve that, like, I don't know, earning more money, owning property, planning for retirement. All of it means being exposed to risk and also being invested in systems that are going to make other people more precarious as well. And so then she goes on to explain how all the different sort of ongoing crises we're experiencing, mental health struggles, rising inequality, the climate catastrophe, the sort of fascism, everything stems from the fact that our world is running on insecurity. And why is that? Because capitalism runs on insecurity. So the way I found she made this most easy to understand is talking about the beauty industry and the ways in which beauty companies have to make you feel insecure about your appearance in order to sell you product. But then she expands that to systems like politics, policing, the military, all the systems that are promising us security are actively undermining it. So there's 5 different lectures in the book. The first 4 are on different types of insecurity: political, emotional, economic, ecological. And then the last one is about how we can forge a new path forward. I think there's a lot of books out right now and a lot of people talking about, trying to explain the disaster we're living in. But this was something I hadn't heard before. It really felt like something new and really interesting and not talked about enough. So I am very excited about this one.
I'm excited for the Massey lectures. That's awesome. And honestly, you could do like a whole playlist task for this. We don't need one album. We got the whole playlist. So thanks so much, everyone, for sharing your album pairings with your books, which leads me into another giveaway question. Why not, right? So everybody get your listening ears on. I have a music-related question for you. So we all love her. Celine Dion's 1996 hit, It's All Coming Back to Me Now, is making a resurgence on TikTok with all the TikTok kiddos. What literary classic inspired this song? So put your guesses in the chat. Whoever has the first correct answer will get a super special prize pack. So just in case you missed that, Celine Dion's 1996 hit, It's All Coming Back to Me Now, is making a resurgence on TikTok. So what literary classic inspired this song? I also hope that you have all been filling out your ARC requests forms. I mean, mine is full. I'm so excited for all these titles that are coming out. But sadly, we are at our final question of the evening. I know these are all going to be checked off on your forms, so keep listening, keep making sure you're ordering these for your stores and for your libraries. So my pals in publishing, we're all dying to know, as we're heading into the holiday season, I hate to say that, what book on your list makes the perfect holiday pick this season to make giving and selling and reading and relaxing just a little bit better? So Biblioasis, why don't we start with you for your holiday pick?
My holiday pick every year, always, is our Christmas ghost stories, which are illustrated by famed cartoonist Seth. If you haven't seen them, they're pocket-sized. I wish I had one here to show you. They're really small, illustrated short stories that celebrate the old Victorian tradition of reading a scary story on Christmas Eve. Every year we publish 3, which we often sell as a bundle. This year we are publishing The Captain of the Pole Star by Arthur Conan Doyle, which is my personal favorite. In the story, the boat, the Pole Star's voyage, comes to a halt after being trapped in Arctic ice, threatening the lives of an entire crew. Superstition takes hold, and a group of frightened men, they start to hear ghosts in the darkness. But it's the captain's increasingly strange behavior that becomes everybody's main concern. Alongside Captain the Pole Star, we're publishing The House by the Poppy Field by Marjorie Bowen and A Room in a Rectory by Sir Andrew Caldecott. year over year, we see more and more people get excited about these titles. They've been praised in the New York Times, the Toronto Star. Patton Oswalt is a major fan of the series. This year, we're making them available on Halloween so we can celebrate a full spooky holiday season. We don't do ARCs for these ones, but if you're interested in a sample copy or DRC or like a poster, something for your shop, just reach out and we'll hook you up. Thanks again for coming, everyone, also. It's been a really nice night.
I'm excited for these ones. We love spooky season to last as long as possible. So thank you, Emily. Jessie, what does Groundwood have for us for the holiday season?
Well, it's dawning on me that I should have a copy of it because my pitch is that it's so beautiful. So imagine a beautiful picture book. This is Skating Wild on an Inland Sea by Jean Penzawalt and Tawn Stewart. The book, it's a picture book. It looks at the thrilling and magical northern experience of skating on wild ice through the lens of a lyrical writer and a very gifted illustrator. The art is incredibly beautiful and engaging, and it perfectly captures the whimsy of Canadian winters. And Lake Superior feels like the third character in this story, right beside the sister and the brother. Todd's debut picture book, The Wind in the Trees, Quand le vent souffle, was a finalist for the Gigi and the TD Canadian Children's Literature Award. So Todd is a really clearly talented artist, and Jean is sort of a storied picture book author. And just the package in and of itself is so beautiful, not only because it's a winter activity, it's like such a beautiful gift and very, very Canadian. So I think this is a fantastic gift.
Thank you. A whimsy picture book, and having grown up on Lake Superior, it really is always the third character in every relationship. So thanks, Jessie. Our next beautiful book is going to come from Annick. What do you have for our holiday season?
Sure. So the book that I think is going to make the perfect gift is our very exciting reissued Munch Treasury that has received a gorgeous makeover. This affordable treasury is a valuable resource for any shelf because it's full of empowering stories where kids rule, and each predicament is more outrageous than the last. 5 tremendously silly Munch stories includes, of course, The Paper Bag Princess, Angela's Airplane, Thomas's Snowsuit, Stephanie's Ponytail, and Show and Tell. Plus, you'll get the inside scoop on the real-life kids who inspired each main character and how Munch's original super silly stories came to be. Partnered with, of course, Michael Marchenko's instantly recognizable illustrations, and has Munch's zany spins on everyday situations, which is the perfect gift for any kid who loves to laugh. Treasury is 5 books for under $20, which makes it an affordable option for gifting. It's like getting 2 books for free.
We love that. Affordable, funny, perfect. Thanks so much, Bailey. What does House of Anansi have for our holiday season, Tass?
I've got a big book. As I hit myself in the face with it. This is Asian Vegetables. Careful, it's dangerous, I guess. This is a beautiful, big reference book on, you guessed it, Asian vegetables. I'll see if I can like display some of the images. It's full color. The photography is really stunning in this. So this is a blend of cooking and gardening and personal family history. It is by the 3 Wang sisters, Stephanie, Patricia, and Caroline. The book is meant to familiarize Western readers with lesser known vegetables from Asia that actually grow really well in northern climates. It's organized around 15 vegetables. They're presented by season. There's advice on growing and harvesting. There's over 40 recipes. They're all from different chefs, which I think is really cool. And there's also tips for preparing and preserving the vegetables. And you get the author's thoughts on Asian vegetables from a cultural perspective as well, and the personal story of how the Wang family first came to Canada from China. So I think this is a great holiday book, especially because you can gift it to people who like to garden or to cook. So covers a wider range. And it's just beautifully produced. I brought it home on the weekend and my partner immediately stole it, and I had to get it back so I could use it for this presentation. So there you go.
Honestly, the perfect any time of year gift book. I love it. Thanks so much, Tass. James, what does Coach House have for this holiday season?
Okay, forgive me, and I'm going on a limb here, but this is another book of poetry. But look at this cute poetry. It's the perfect stocking stuffer. This is Love Language by Nasser Hussain, which will be the great gift for that special someone in your life. Nasser is a poet of constraint, so he uses set limitations every time. His previous book, the New York Times reviewed Skywritings, was composed entirely of airport codes, the 3 letters, which he used to form words. This is composed entirely of love poems. So there's the obvious love poems to his partner in here, but there's my favorite poem is a list poem of all the things he loves about his friend. I love this about Susan. I love that about Matthew. I love this. And then there's a long diatribe of the writing his friends do. I love how Susan writes poetry. I love how Jake writes, characters and things like this. This is a book meant to make you smile, meant to make you laugh. There are visual poems in here that'll really tickle you. You do not need to be an expert poetry reader to do this. This is Nasser reaching out to you and really wanting to make you happy, to make you feel really good about yourself. This would be a lovely book to give to someone. It really, really would. On the front, you can see we have the cover is candy hearts. We actually made little packets of candy hearts with these colors, with this on them as well. So hopefully we'll be sending some of those around to bookstores as well. You can always let me know if you want a couple extra. We can get them out to you. Sure, Valentine's Day is coming. Sure. But for Christmas, you will need to get your partner something that says I love you, and you will not want to spend too much money, and you will want them to hang on to it for a while. Poetry book. Hear me out here. This could work for you. They won't see it coming. They'll have a lot of fun reading it. You guys could read it to each other, maybe in a bath, maybe in bed. I don't know. That's up to you. Anyways, give it a shot. It's schmaltzy, but people go for it every time. Love poetry. Love Language by Nasser Hussain.
It's perfect. I do have a wedding to pay for. As long as I can get little conversation hearts to give to Rob, that's perfect. Thanks so much, James. And I love that it'll make us smile. So our last title of the night is from Elham. What do you have for our holiday gift giving season?
So following this books that will make you smile, I kind of had a hard time with this question because it was a toss-up between the book that would make you sob and a book that would make you scream in terror. And neither of those seemed very holiday appropriate, but you know what? I decided to go with terror. And my pick is The Girl Who Cried Diamonds and Other Stories by Rebecca Hirsch Garcia. This is an absolutely wonderful debut short story collection that really blurs the lines between literary and speculative, between real and fabulous, and a series of stories that kind of investigate the horrors and the magic of everyday living. The collection starts with the O. Henry Prize-winning story, A Golden Light, which is about a young girl who loses all feeling in her body after her father passes. And from there, you have stories about mistakes and murder, about teen acceptance and middle-aged angst, about a girl with a terrible scar on her face and a woman who decides that she doesn't want to live her life anymore, and so she turns into a cloud. When I was reading these stories, what I really found to be kind of the sort of central question that ties them all together is, what does it mean to be monstrous? What does it mean to be a monster? And what are the monsters that exist in our everyday world and also maybe in ourselves too? This is a great gift for literary readers, of course, and sci-fi and horror readers too. I also think it's a great gift for maybe reluctant readers who kind of want to get into reading more. It's a really good collection to kind of dip in and out of. The stories will always leave you with something to think about. And I also want to say that it's a great gift for aspiring writers too. We're so proud to be launching Rebecca's career, not just because she's an amazing writer, but also because she is an alumni of ECW's BIPOC mentorship program. This is a program that we've been running since 2021, where we take take emerging BIPOC writers and pair them with editors to work on their manuscripts. And it's, I think, pretty incredible that we've been able to launch a career as well. We're so proud of this book and we're so proud of Rebecca. And so I hope that other aspiring writers will read her stories and be inspired too. So that is The Girl Who Cried Diamonds and Other Stories by Rebecca Hirsch Garcia. Also in time for spooky season.
Spooky season and short stories are always a great gift. So thank you so much, Elham. All my friends here tonight, we are coming to the end of our time together. And these indie socials are really the highlight for the season for all of us. We get to see each other. We get to see you guys in the chat. It's just great. But I did say we have 3 questions. So your last giveaway question tonight is, you have to really remember, use your memory. I'm sorry, it's 9 o'clock at night. But what was the first title that we mentioned today? If you're taking notes and going through your ARC request forms, maybe you know what it was. As you think that one through and put your answers in the chat, I would like to thank all of you for your time and your attention and your care and your humor this evening while we talk about some of the greatest things on earth, books from indie publishers, with indie booksellers, and with librarians. So remember to complete your ARC request forms and to sign up for our Spring Indie Social. We can't wait to see you all again, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.